Hello and welcome to the program Panorama, reaching you from the NTA Maiduguri Network Center. Maiduguri experiences excessive heat weather due to its geographical location. Situated in northeastern Nigeria, Maiduguri lies in the Sahel region, characterized by its proximity to the Sahara Desert, which exposes the city to direct sunlight and dry, as well as arid conditions, leading to high temperatures, especially during certain time of the year. It is in view of this that this edition of the program shall focus on the health impact of the scorching sun and heat amidst the Ramadan fast. I'm Yunusa Suleiman. Glad to have you join us. Vice President Kashim Shettima has acknowledged the commitment to professionalism and excellence of the Alumni Association of the National Institute. The Vice President acknowledged the association when he received the members at the State House led by the National President, Ambassador Emmanuel Obi Okafor. He assured prompt action on the issues discussed, underscoring Nigeria's significance on the African continent and the importance of collective efforts for national progress. The Vice President also lauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership and pledged to enhance the standard of NINIP school while addressing resources challenges. National President of the Association, Ambassador Emmanuel Obi Okafor, commended the Vice President's transformational leadership style and outlined AANI's role as an advocacy platform for policy recommendations and national unity. He also said that the ongoing collaboration with the Ministry of Defense to enhance security awareness across the country's geopolitical zones is yielding results. The President appealed for the Vice President's support in maintaining the institution's excellence through increased resources and proposed the establishment of a liaison desk as the Vice President's office to facilitate communication. The Sultan of Sokoto and President General Spring Council for Islamic Affairs, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, has commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for ordering the opening of the Nigeria-Niger Republic borders that were closed down as part of economic sanctions imposed on the country by the regional bloc ECOWAS. This is while receiving at his palace the Area Controller, Nigerian Customs Service, Sokoto Zamfara Area Command, Kamal Mohammed. Bashir Ibrahim Nababa tells us more.
The opening of Nigeria's land and air borders with Niger Republic and the lifting of other sanctions against the country by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is seen by many well-meaning Nigerians as a welcome development. Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, is among notable Nigerians that threw weight behind the decision. The Sultan called on Nigeria Customs Service to ensure a return of normalcy at the nation's borders for commercial activities to thrive. The newly deployed Area Controller, Nigeria Customs Service, Sokoto Zamfara Area Command, Kamal Mohammed, stated that he was at the palace to pay homage and solicit advice of the royal father. Also at the Sultan's palace was newly deployed Controller Correctional Services, Sokoto State Command Salihu Abdullahi, who seeks for the Sultan's usual support to enable the service discharge its mandate.
We've been here, and for the past, he said he has been on seat for over 80 years, and he has not had anything negative from the correctional service, and I pray I will build on it.
Sultan urged him to do more towards the congestion of the correctional facility, reviewing the records to know those who could be freed in accordance with provisions of the law. In Sokoto, Bashir Ibrahim Nababa, NTA News.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on reopening of the Nigeria-Niger border. Officers and men of the Nigeria Immigration Service Borno State Command have been charged to ensure effective management of borders to curb illegal migration. Assistant Controller General of Immigration Heading Zone C, Sunday James, gave the charge during a two-day official visit to Maiduguri. Tina Toro tells us more.
The visit by the ACG Zone C, Sunday James, to the State Command was to inspect facilities under his jurisdiction, as well as boost the morale of officers. On arrival, the Assistant Controller General inspected a parade by men and officers of the Nigerian Immigration Service in his honor. Addressing the officers, the ACG commended the State Controller, Abba Salihu, and his team for the successes recorded in the area of border patrol and charged them to ensure effective border management and control, especially now that the Nigerian-Nigerian border has been reopened to curb illegal migration. Sunday James was also at the office of the State Deputy Governor, Umar Usman Kadafur, where he commended the efforts of the Zulum-led administration in tackling insecurity and sought for collaboration in effective and efficient manning of borders, considering the fact that the state borders 3 countries of Niger, Cameroon, and Chad.
The border of Nigeria and Niger has been opened. Relative peace has turned back here. We must appreciate what the governor is doing, Professor Babagana Zulum.
Borno State Deputy Governor Umar Usman Gadafur, who describes Nigeria Immigration Service as a partner in progress, urged them to always be on the alert to curb activities of terrorists around the border area.
Our borders are so porous. So with these new management techniques, I think a lot of improvement will be required.
In Maiduguri, Tina Turu, NTA News.
Troops of the Nigerian army have eliminated some terrorists in raid operations conducted in Kaduna and Katsina states. In a statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Major General Onyema Nwachukwu says the troops also foiled a kidnapped attempt in a primary school in Plateau State. Similarly, troops acting on intelligence successfully raided a terrorist hideout at Dus and Kura in Bazari local government area of Katsina State and eliminated some terrorists after exchange of fire. During the operations, military, woodland, camouflage uniforms, ballistic helmets, and several weapons were recovered. Panorama returns in a moment. Stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Glad to know you are still with us. Residents of Maiduguri are grappling with the dual challenges of fasting and enduring extreme heat with temperature exceeding 40 degrees Celsius. Pauline Gujavana takes a look at the health impacts of exposure to high temperature.
The ongoing heat wave in Maiduguri has compelled residents, particularly those observing the Ramadan fast, to endure the oppressive conditions, seeking relief under the shade of trees.
Due to the Ramadan fast and the scorching sun, passengers have deserted the streets, so we decided to take our rest too under the tree. We waited this place to be cool, and now we are enjoying the environment, away from sun and the hot weather.
Health facilities are witnessing a surge in heat-related illnesses, hence warning by doctors against dehydration, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke, which are common risks during this period.
This dehydration can lead to diseases like acute kidney injuries, sometimes can even complicated and become chronic kidney diseases. There is also common diseases that is also associated with the weather. So it can also bring about urethritis, cystitis, pyelonephritis. These are all diseases that are associated with dehydration.
We should stop malingering or roaming about. It has to be very necessary for you to move out. Let them stay hydrated overnight. For those that are fasting throughout, let them keep on taking little amount of it, not a gallon at a time. For those that feel like urinating during the night, let them keep on urinating as frequently as possible, because the more they keep their urine in their body, the more harmful it becomes.
Nobody is saying that you should go and outside and expose yourself to heat and then expecting a reward from Allah. It's not like that. To break our fast, it's always advisable to take a moderate water. It is not too cold, it is not too hot.
According to the experts, prolonged exposure to high temperature coupled with fasting can lead to severe health complications, and advise everyone to prioritize their health and take necessary precautions. As the fasting month continues and temperature remains relentless, staying hydrated, cool and safe become a critical concern for a healthy living. In Maiduguri, Paul Kujevana, NTA News.
We now delved into the scorching sun and relentless heat weather conditions being experienced in Maiduguri, and with me to shed more light on this is the Director Kidney Center of University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, Professor Ibrahim Umati. Professor, you are welcome to Panorama.
Thank you for having me.
All right, with temperatures surpassing 40 degrees Celsius in recent times in Maiduguri, how does the scorching sun and heat impact on individuals' health?
Well, heat impacts on individual health in many ways. One of the most important ways is it increases the burden of diseases that are already there, but they may be increased in frequency or in prevalence. And then the second one is other new diseases can come up, those that have not been known to be emerging in that particular environment. As in Maiduguri in particular, those conditions that may be worsened during heat seasons are things like prevalence of chronic kidney diseases, those that come with renal problems or kidney problems, those that come with some conditions like increased prevalence of malaria, heat stroke, heat problems like excessive sweating. All these things are problems. But some conditions like meningitis, cerebrospinal meningitis, like cholera outbreaks, can also occur during heat seasons. And then likewise, bites by reptiles, because reptiles are actually, like snakes, are actually the distinct animals that hide during cold season, but during heat season they come out of their hiding places and impact some hazardous conditions on health of individuals. So these are commonly things that are affecting health during heat seasons.
All right, can you discuss the potential risks of dehydration and heat-induced exertion for individuals fasting in a hot climate like Maiduguri?
Dehydration actually have high risks, more especially in the very young and the elderly. And dehydration means the person does not have enough fluids in his body to maintain his normal activities. And that has to do with either improper intake of water or excessive temperature. As it is in Maiduguri, the temperature also actually during heat season like April to May, March, April, May, it can be as high as 40 degrees up to 42 degrees, the ambient temperature. So this particular thing can cause severe dehydration, can worsen kidney problems, more especially during fasting, that people are fasting, do not take enough water. So more prevalence of kidney diseases occurs during these periods, more occurrences of heat stroke, and people don't take enough fluids, so they excessively sweat, and then it exposes them to heat strokes, it exposes them to, more especially children, like heat rashes and other things. So these are conditions that occur during heat season in persons that are fasting, more especially during fasting period. The whole day the person does not take enough water, and he is subjected to fasting, and he sweats a lot because of the ambient temperature. So the fasting becomes more intense, and the prevalence of kidney diseases increases in these individuals.
Okay, what advice do you have for individuals in Maiduguri fasting to maintain their kidney health and manage any exacerbation of kidney-related conditions due to the extreme, weather?
Yeah, what the individual should do is they should ensure that they take enough adequate fluids during the time that they break their fast, up to down when they, start the fasting period. At these periods, they should take enough fluids, and during the period that they are fasting, during the day, they should localize themselves to areas where there is no much heat. If the person can afford air conditioning system, should actually be at the air conditioning places. And those that have, they are working in sunny environments, they should limit that kind of activities at that period of time. Maybe if they can change occupation, yeah, changing occupation is better. But if they cannot change occupation because it's their means of livelihood, they should limit exposure to sun, more especially from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. These are the periods that are intensely heat and tends to dehydrate persons very well. Most importantly, in developed countries, there are what we call cooling centers. And these cooling centers help a lot in cooling the environments. And I noticed in our environment here, some people do wet the environment where they stay. They pour a lot of water in these environments, and they stay calm during this fasting period. This also helps a lot. So by and large, people should take enough water during fasting, during the period that they break their fast to down, and then when they are fasting, they limit themselves to cooling areas. And government agencies, religious leaders, and community groups will also enlighten public on the hazards of the sunny environments.
Okay, are there any specific dietary or hydration recommendations for individuals staying or observing fast, especially medical?
Well, dietary, we cannot say there is, but for rehydration, yes. Hydration should be as much fluids as possible, that the person's urine output should be as colorless as the water that he takes. That is the recommended fluid intake. As you are taking fluids, you are taking enough water, that urine output, that urine that the person produces should be much in quantity and should be as colorless as the water that the person is taking. That means the person has had enough hydration. Anything short of that, it means the person is not well hydrated. So this is the greatest advice for rehydration.
Okay, Prof, what are the general precautions to stay hydrated and safe during the fasting period amidst the heat wave?
The general precautions is, during this fasting period, as I mentioned earlier, persons should limit their activity should be after 4 o'clock, that is after 4 p.m., or anything between 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. If they should be active, not actually beyond 12 noon. So these are the periods that the person should be active. Anything from 12 noon to 4 p.m., the person should be indoors, either in cooling centers or air-conditioned environments, or in places where they can be in a shade where they pour water on the ground, and that particular area may be a little bit cool for them to reside in these places. And as I advised earlier, intake of proper adequate fluids like water serves a lot in maintaining health condition and preventing hazards of heat in this environment, in any other environment thereover.
Okay, so can you tell our viewer some of the diseases that are associated specifically with this period of time? Yes, the common diseases that are associated with heat environments, I will mention first and foremost dehydration. Dehydration is a disease on its own, and then followed by high prevalence of kidney diseases. We see more patients coming with kidney diseases during heat seasons. And then other things are increased prevalence of malaria, some heat rashes, some heat strokes, increased prevalence of epidemics like cholera, increased prevalence of snake bites, because snakes actually comes out of their hiding during hot season too. They are also looking for cold environments, and sometimes epidemics of meningitis and other infectious diseases. All these things are things that occur during heat season in particular, more especially humid heat environments. Although humidity is not that high in Maiduguri, but still the heat is so intense that can cause high prevalence of these particular diseases that I mentioned. Okay, well, we'll have to leave it there. I've been speaking with Professor Ibrahim Umati. He is the Director, Kidney Center of University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital. He is a Professor of Medicine and Nephrology. Thank you very much for, taking your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Borno State government has called on Muslim clerics to be moderate in their messages during Ramadan Tafsir to avoid extremism and negative preaching. State Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Professor Usman Tar, stated this during press briefing at the end of the periodic security meeting held at the Government House, Maiduguri. Mohammed Goni was there and now reports.
The 29-member Northeast Ambassadors Group comprises bilateral partners, the UN family, the EU, international finance institutions, development and donor partners committed to stabilization, insecurity and development of the Northeast sub-region bedeviled by over a decade-long security challenges. Chairperson of the group, British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Richard Montgomery, appreciated Governor Zulum's commitment and his efforts to make a difference in the lives of the people, as well as putting in place short and 25-year development plans.
To listen and learn, and there's a great deal of documentation that the Governor's team has provided us, and our first impressions are very positive that recent progress has been made, and we are looking forward to seeing how we as international partners, with the Governor and his government in the lead, can get behind the plans being put in place.
Within the last 2 years, we received 162,000 repentant Boko Haram members and their families. This is huge. It's a significant achievement that has never been achieved anywhere in the world. Why? Because we build trust between the government and the population.
Professor Zulum, who dwelt on the ongoing voluntary resettlement of displaced citizens to pave the way for official closure of IDP's camp, also appealed to the donors and development partners to support provision of 84,000 houses for resettlement, urging them also to scale off intervention through the Regional Stabilization Fund as well as durable solution pathways. Mohamed Goni, NTA News.
Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, Lawal Abba Walkibe, has embarked on a detailed inspection tour to schools and ICT centers across Magumeri, Gubio and Mobile local government areas, marking the beginning of their comprehensive review. Pauline Kujevana reports.
Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, Lawal Abba Walkibe, is demonstrating a commitment to enhancing educational infrastructure and learning ability of pupils and students in Borno State. This informed his visit to Magumeri alongside the Executive Secretary of Borno State ICT Development Agency, Kabiru Wanuri, to inspect the ICT center set to be commissioned soon and other schools in the area. The delegation proceeded to Gubio and was received by the council's chairman, Mali Bulama Mali, who led them to assess the progress of the Islamic College, a new ICT center and teachers' quarters in the town. The tour's next step was Mobile, under the guidance of its newly appointed Education Secretary, Dr. Ibrahim Karito, where the team was received by the council's chairman, Mohammed Aji, who introduced the commissioner to the site designated for the Government Day Secondary School, Damasak. The inspection was also carried out at the ICT Center, Teachers' Quarters, and Islamic College under construction, among other schools visited within Damasak town.
We will soon solve your accommodation problem. We'll give you the teachers' quarters. Okay. And we want to build a new school inside so that you will leave this site for primary school.
This series of visits by Commissioner of Education to learning centers highlight the ongoing effort by Governor Babagana Umar Zulum to fortify the education sector, ensuring that infrastructure and resources meet the growing needs of the populations. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
Up next is trending news from the world of sports.
We begin with the African Games in Ghana as Nigerians Pamela Bawa and Esther Oba ensured Team Nigeria didn't return empty-handed in beach volleyball despite being relatively new to the sport. These youngsters secured the bronze in the women's double as they proudly shared the podium with Egypt, who took first, and Madagascar on second. In a similar vein, Nigerians Marylove Edward and Oyilomo Quadri has both advanced into the round of 32 of the women's tennis single, beating their opponent in the first round of the games. Meanwhile, Wisin Osalele Igbinovia is making his mark in Accra as the young star has joined his compatriot Christopher Bulus in the next round after securing a win over Ethiopia's Yebat Kebedi in the round of 64 of the men's tennis singles. To football, it will be a cracker in the Nigerian Premier Football League as 10 matches will be decided Sunday in March the 26th across various centers. Rivers United welcome Heartland as Abia Warriors take on Sunshine Stars of Akure. Other games will see Bayelsa United slug it out with Kano Pillars, while Bender Insurance take on Doma United. Table topper Lobby Stars of Makurdi will go away to Enugu Rangers at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, Enugu, as Plateau United take on Katsina United. Sporting Lagos, after losing to Niger Tornadoes, will be looking to bounce back as they take on Kwara United at the Onikon Stadium, Lagos. And finally, to tennis, world number 1 Novak Djokovic has confirmed he will not be playing in next week's Miami's Open due to scheduling. The 24-time Grand Slam champion returned to play the early season of the U.S. hardcourt swing at the Indian Wells in California, only to suffer a shock third-round exit to lonely ranked Italian Luca Nardi. According to Djokovic, after the defeat, he still planned on playing in the Miami's Open despite the loss, but that has now changed. Djokovic's statement on Saturday gave no indication of where he next expects to play. With Sports Update, Oche Ngbedi, NTA News.
That concludes Panorama from the studios of NTA Meduguri Network Center. I'm Yunusa Suleiman. Do have a nice day.